The Black Phone is a 2022 horror film co-written and directed by Scott Derrickson, the same creative mind behind that first Doctor Strange movie and Sinister. And it's based upon a story, a short story, written by Joe Hill, the son of Stephen King, as featured in his horror anthology book, 20th Century Ghosts. The story and the film revolves around a young boy who's abducted by a notorious man only known as the Grabber. He's placed in this man's basement, and a mysterious phone, a black phone if you will, on the wall begins to make sinister phone calls from the dead children that the Grabber has previously killed, and they coach this young boy on how to escape his situation. Here it is, you guys, the Black Phone review. I haven't reviewed a horror film since Scream, which was back in January, so I really was missing discussing films with you guys. It's good to be back, and The Black Phone is a movie that's been anticipated for a long, long time. And before we jump into whether or not it lived up to the hype, I want to talk about where I'm coming from with this movie. So the first few things is, one, it's a Blumhouse movie. I love Blumhouse. I love the business model. Jason Blum seems like a really cool guy. And because of the way that that model works of throwing money at different projects, not all of them stick the landing. Blumhouse can go from making an amazing film like Get Out, Halloween, or Happy Death Day, and then they drop a Truth or Dare in the mix, and it just kind of scrambles my mind. But at any rate, I'm confident in Blumhouse, and I was looking forward to seeing this movie. When I heard it was being directed by the Doctor Strange guy, I got a little iffy because I wasn't a huge fan of that Doctor Strange movie, at least the first one. And Joe Hill is a name that I've gone back and forth on. I really respect what he's done. He's been a brief writer on the Creepshow Shudder series, and he also, of course, has a lot of novels out, just like his father, Stephen King. Obviously, one of the biggest names in horror writing. And when I heard that this was a story that is taken from his anthology book, I immediately was hooked, because I myself am a horror author, and I am currently in development on an anthology horror book, and I would love to have the chance to make one of, if not more of those stories into films. So this was kind of like my dream to see how this would play out. And I know Joe Hill has had other projects that have already hit the small screen and to an extent the large screen, like, what was it, Lock and Key or something like that. He's had a lot of different projects over the years, but this one was really interesting because it was based off a 7,000-word short story. So before I watched the movie, I actually read/listened to a narration of the story, and I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't like my favorite horror story I've ever heard. I've heard a ton, but it was a good story with a good little character arc for this young boy. And basically, everything that you'd read in the short story is brought to the screen in The Black Phone. And I would say the film elevates the material all the more and really fleshes it out. I had an awesome time watching The Black Phone. I think it was easily one of the best films of 2022, and it's going to be hard to beat, although Nope, Halloween Ends, and a few other movies coming out towards the later half of the year may give it a run for its money. But I was so pleased. I was so pleased in The Black Phone. I, about a week or so ago, watched the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. And I was going to make a video on it, but I was just completely baffled by the decisions in that movie. And it was so over the top and just explosions, and it was like diarrhea on the screen. So to get a real down-to-earth story with fleshed out characters, a really good plot, and a fun story with a style to the filmmaking, that's all I want. It's not that hard. Scott Derrickson, you did a great job, and the adaptation from Joe Hill's story really felt both fresh and at the same time classic. This isn't a movie that's very complex. It's a very simple story. I basically summed it up in the intro there. It's a phone that talks to the children that this serial killer has already killed, and they teach his newest victim on how to escape. That's the premise. There's nothing else really crazy being thrown. There's a few side plots with the young boy's sister and things with the cops, but on the whole, that's it. And it's really well executed. All the decisions that are made are very smart. It doesn't feel like people are making stupid decisions. The kid learns and improvises on the spot with the situations he's put in. And of course, it's acted very, very well with a lot of young child actors, and especially, not a child actor, but especially Ethan Hawke as the grabber is just, he just is a gem. I love him in so many movies. The last, I guess, horror role I remember him from is that first Purge movie. Not the first Purge, but the original Purge movie. Thought he was great in that. He's awesome in this, maybe even more so. He brings such a flair to what could be just a generic serial killer. And the mask, that amazing mask that was sculpted by Tom Savini, really captures both the whimsy and the terror of this guy who we know very little about, but that adds the intrigue to the story. Of course, this movie is a period piece set in 1978, and there are some callbacks to that time and generation. Stuff that you'd see in a movie like It, which is from Stephen King, which is kind of ironic. But stuff like bullying and abusive fathers and fights after school, bloody noses, riding your bike down the street, all of that imagery that you'd expect in a story like this is brought back. Yet somehow it doesn't feel tired, it feels fresh, and there's a great dynamic between the main character and his sister that I really enjoyed, even when they're being oppressed by their own father, and the dynamic there. And you think at first that the father is this villainous character, but by the end you understand that he is a troubled man too, and all of that is kind of wrapped up in this story with the grabber. Also, how they frame the grabber, that you don't really see him or what he does for the first, 20 to 30 minutes of the movie is really stellar. I like how they gave it its due time to get this world built and then introduce the monster. Really well done movie. I had a blast watching it. I would be thrilled to go see it again in theaters because I really enjoyed it. It goes to prove that a well done and simple story crafted by great filmmakers is all you need to make a fantastic movie. I would give The Black Phone a 4 out of 5. Great time at the movies, you guys. I know some people have been saying this movie has been a tad overhyped, but I think it's well worth it. I think it's a great horror movie. Definitely one I would even pick up on Blu-ray. So, there you go. Thank you for watching my review. Let me know what you thought of The Black Phone in the comments. And remember, for all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer.